Welcome back to another episode of the Jordan Checker podcast where I'm joined by Nathan Chan. Nathan founded Foundr, a global media and education empire creating resources that empower entrepreneurs worldwide with content featuring industry giants like Richard Branson, Mark Cuban, Arianna Huffington, Gary Vee, and Greta Van Riel. In today's episode with Nathan, we're going to cover a variety of topics ranging from advice for founders on knowing when it's time to quit your day job, the necessary sacrifices for success as an entrepreneur, fast versus slow growth, the realistic lifestyle of a founder and CEO, work-life balance and burnout, what is more important, product or marketing, tips to find the right network of individuals to facilitate your success, how you're underutilizing social media, and much, much more. But if you haven't already, please do subscribe on either Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts and enjoy the episode. So at the start of becoming a founder, a lot of people are going to try and maybe tell you your idea is ridiculous, tell you it's not the best thing to do. Maybe that's from a place of family being, looking out for you as well. How do you navigate that for the people that are like, well, maybe they do have a fair point versus no, they're just trying to protect you and you should just keep pursuing that as well?
Yeah, so I like stories, so I can tell a good story. I remember early days Foundr. You try and find your way. You go to these conferences, you go to these events, you meet people, you try and network. Especially, my mum was a nurse, my dad was a teacher, so I never had any background in business. I never knew anyone. And this was 10 years ago when I started Foundr. Like, people starting online businesses wasn't as much of a thing as it is now. And I went to an event and I found myself in this kind of intimate room. And I was telling somebody, the organizer of the event, my dream and my vision to build Foundr. And he said to me, look, don't take this the wrong way, Nathan, but I know heaps of people that have tried to do what you're trying to do and it's not possible. And that really hit me, right? But it didn't hit me to the point that this guy's super smart, he's a multi-millionaire or whatever, he's super successful in business. It was more like, well, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yep.
Right? So I think when somebody tells you something isn't going to work or you're wasting your time, you should only really listen to them if they're in a position that you want to be in, right? And he was in a position that I wanted to be in, he built a successful business, but you can also use that as fuel to say, you know what, I'll prove you wrong. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to execution. Ideas are purely worthless. At the end of the day, all it comes down to is, can you execute? Can you bring that product to life or service to life? And can you fulfill the customer's needs? And can you bring in more customers? That's all it comes down to in the most simplest form. So yes, your friends are going to doubt you. Yes, your family are going to doubt you. And you need to use that as fuel if you're truly passionate about what it is you're trying to build.
Is there any times where would that be maybe if you're looking at the market and, maybe that's the approach that people have come to you and they're like, well, you've done your market research and it doesn't seem like you're getting much of feedback that people are interested in this product, or is it still the same sort of thing? It's, maybe when they were doing market research on Airbnb, like we're sitting in right now, people were kind of like, I don't want randoms in my home for 2 nights and then gone. It's like, well, even the market may tell you no, but it doesn't mean it's a bad idea still.
Yeah, look, it's interesting. I've interviewed one of the founders of Airbnb and they started off not doing what they're doing today with Airbnb. They started selling some sort of physical product or something really weird. Okay. I can't remember exactly what it was, but and I think you have to be open as well to change, what you started, and especially if it's your first business, there's actually a high likelihood that in 10 years time or 5 years time, it's not actually what you're going to be building. And, Foundr started as a magazine, right? And it started telling stories of successful entrepreneurs, trying to find out how the hell they were doing it with no skills or experience whatsoever and building these online businesses. And I wanted to share those stories with the world. Now, the main core of our business is our education platform, Foundr Plus, where we take all the people that we interview and we get them to teach on our platform and give back. So yeah, you have to be prepared to I think it's less about the idea, honestly, and it's more about the execution and never giving up.
Yeah. So when you execute, that'll turn into what it needs to become over time.
Anyway. Over time. And you have to be prepared to change course, right? We still publish the magazine, but it's free. It's 100% free. Someone wants to literally download every single magazine. I think we've done 120, 130 issues Like you can access it for free if you go to foundr.com /mag bundle or something like that. Like it's 100% free, and we probably spent millions of dollars producing it. Like some people would think, why the hell? Yeah, we would have spent well over $1 million, even more over these past 10 years. Why the hell would you make it free? That's insane. But things change, times change, people change. And I think if you've got a business idea, anyone watching, listening to this, if you've got a business idea, don't get too caught up on what other people think. Really focus on the problem that you're solving and just give it a crack for 1 year.
Yeah.
That was how I started Foundr. When the first day I launched it, I made $5.50. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to give this a crack for 1 year and I'm just going to see where I am after a year. 14 months after I started, I left my job and went full time on it. That $5, yeah, that's right. That $5.50 ended up being about $40 or $80 for the month in the first month. Eventually, within 14 months, that was about $3 or $4 or $5 a month in subscription revenue, right? And it just kind of built, compounded over time. And like most people would have given up. Like I never forget when you talk about friends and, you know, people bagging your idea. I never forget that first day. I launched the magazine. I come home. I was living with one of my housemates, my best mates, and at the time, and we went to the fish and chip shop after work for dinner, and I said, I launched the magazine, and I was like, oh, and they said, how did you make any sales? I said, yeah, we made $5.50, had 2 subscribers, not too bad. And his now wife was like, huh? Is that all? And laughed. Man, that was fuel.
Yeah, you're like,
I'm still telling that story today, man. Do you know how much pleasure I get in telling that story? Because imagine if I had have listened to her opinion, right? So I think there's got to be something around the problem that you're solving and actually how passionate you are about that particular problem that you're solving. Like I never forget the first interview I did with Foundr. Like, dude, I'm going home. And like I couldn't fall asleep because I was buzzing. And I was like, this is what I was meant to do. Like this is so much fun. Didn't even feel like work, right? And the early days of starting a business, it's actually pretty fun. Like personally, I think early days starting a business is pretty fun, especially while you're doing it in your day job. Because what do you have to lose? Like seriously, what do you have to lose? Nothing.
Like you've still got that security, you've got that net ready for you.
No stresses whatsoever, right? The only thing that should be motivating you is because you're so passionate about the problem you're solving. You're so passionate about the work that you're doing. And that's what it's all about. Like life is too short to not do work you don't enjoy. And so, yeah, that's kind of my take.
Yeah. I think it's hilarious. Like I think even when you get that $5 come in, feels like $1 million though still. Like, well, maybe it depends on like how far it's got there. But I remember when I launched like his first online coaching product and like it's nothing special. And I had like saw that one person signed up. It was like $14 a week or something. Like I was running around like, I did it. I've got my, and then you're like, hold on. That's not enough. We've got to keep going. But back to your point of, so focus on like, give it 12 months and then see, give that time frame to at least see where you end up in that. What should the priorities be within those first 12 months? Where is, money's thin, potentially, unless you have a really high paying job and you're living very thin. Where should that be going?
Yeah. So I think people can get caught up in the analysis by paralysis. And I'm a big fan of education, right? Like that's why Foundr exists. Like the Foundr Plus membership, it's all about, honestly, find people that have already done it and learn from them.
Yeah.
And that's what we do at Foundr. Like it's the ultimate membership platform for an entrepreneur, especially someone who wants to start an e-commerce business. We'll take you from zero to starting your store all the way to getting your first sale and then growing it and then making it like it's amazing, right? So first things first, you've got to try and find a place you can learn, but don't get so caught up in learning you're not doing.
Yeah.
So I'll prescribe actually to what I did. All I can talk to is my experiences and my story. So when I started the magazine, first and foremost, I went out there and I tried to find people and I joined a community and I paid for actually a product that allowed me to run the software, and there was a community part of that. So I invested in myself. That's the first thing. Like, look, I didn't have that much money at the time. I was making, I think, 50 grand a year, and I put $2,000 on the back of my credit card to pay for this software to be able to create the magazine. And then I was part of a community of people where I tried to learn, hustle, network from people that are having success. And then off the back of that, I spent half an hour, I committed to half an hour every single day, Monday to Sunday. Every single day, dude, rain, hail, or shine, for that 12 months, I committed to do half an hour of work, but actual real work, not research, moving the needle work, like doing an interview, researching an interview, booking an interview, prospecting somebody, reviewing a magazine, reviewing an article, writing, like, updating the website, launching a social media page, creating my first post on social, all on a channel, all of these things that actually move the needle forward. Because what you'll find is when you commit to that daily habit, just like, you asked me before, do I train? Is this like, a thing that you've been into? And it's just like, I got to train 4 days a week. Like, and I work with my trainer, like, and it's a habit now. Like, it just happens. It's on autopilot, right? So if you have that 30 minutes a day that you're dedicating to your business before you work in your 9 to 5 or after, eventually it becomes a habit. And what you'll find is you'll spend more than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And then you slowly build momentum. And it's a game of inches, right? But it's like, that's the first place you start, right? I've seen it so many times. People just, they're so afraid to fail. They're so afraid to fail. So they might buy that, membership or course or coaching program, whatever, but they're still stuck. They're still like afraid to fail. They want to get it right. They want to find the right product. They want to find the right service. But you have to commit to that 30 minutes every single day.
It was that skin in the game, isn't it? Like, if you're not, and I guess once you really commit to it as well, then your energy flows more as well. Like, you start to be like, no, I'm doing this. And then you start to back yourself a little bit more, and you start to believe in yourself a little bit more because you've done the things to back yourself, like the actionable steps, not just being like, I can do it. No. You've shown that you can actually do this thing now.
Yeah. And look, honestly, man, doing is not enough though to get traction. Like, you have to iterate, you have to test, you have to learn, you have to iterate, you have to test, you have to learn. Like, that's a lot of this stuff, right? Like, you're just constantly testing, constantly changing things, constantly innovating. Like, it's not enough to just do, but if you want to build something of true worth and significance, you have to be prepared to do it for 7 to 10 years. Like, that's the journey. Like, Hormozi talks about this kind of stuff all the time, right? Like, true mastery of one thing, 1,000 hours. Like, just one thing, not a business, right? It's 10,000 hours. I guarantee you, if you committed 10,000 hours to achieve mastery of starting a business, you would be better off than where you once were. And there's a high likelihood that you would be able to get it to a place of some meaningful goal. Right. And when I say some meaningful goal, perhaps, it might not be a full-time gig. Perhaps it is a full-time gig or even a part-time gig, but like, it is something meaningful, right? You would have to, if you spent 10,000 hours. So you've got to put in the time, but at the same time, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I think I've heard you talk about this before, and a lot of people talk about that whole, you want to move fast in business, but it's that fine line between you. So you're moving fast on the day-to-day. And I think I don't know if you're familiar with Andy Frisella, and he uses the term aggressive patience. And I really like that, because it's like push, but understand that it still takes time. And that Hormozi says that as well, maybe delaying what you think will happen in a year to 10 and all those sort of things as well. But that's not to just say like, it's going to take longer. That means I can take the foot off the gas. It's like, no, that's foot on the gas, and it will take that time as well.
Yeah. Look, I think I go back to the early days Foundr, and I'm trying to picture myself like, dude, I didn't sleep much. Like, and I know for a lot of people that's like hustle porn, that's not healthy, all this kind of stuff. But for me, from my own personal experience, that's what it took to get Foundr in the early days going and growing it really fast. And I was having the time of my life. Like, I was on fire, man. Like, it was so much fun. Like, in a couple of years, really grew the brand. It was so cool. I was having so much fun. Like, it was awesome. Like, and yeah, I was able to operate off like sometimes 2-3 hours sleep, but it didn't matter to me because it's just so much fun. I was like, I was born to do this. And so I think when people are thinking about starting a business, don't think of it as a chore. Don't get so focused on the money side. Try and find a place of joy, that happy place, right? Where, business can be fun, right? There's ups and downs and there's highs and lows and it's tough. But I think in the early days, from my experience, especially when you have a job on the side, like, yeah, I was quite fond of those times. Now, there were some tough times too, right? Like, I was sued in the first 4 months of starting Foundr by one of the biggest business magazines in the States for trademark infringement. Had to change the name, everything, and I changed it to Foundr.
What was it prior to that?
Key to Success magazine.
Okay.
And we were sued by Success magazine.
Yep.
And yeah, dude, like, that was scary. But yeah, and there were some other tough times. But yeah, no, I don't know. I look back on those times so fond of those early days. It was really, really fun.
But I think to your point of execution as well, there is that arguably, I'd say that's a better name anyway now. Like, you came
100%.
like, so through that you executed, and therefore, like, if you had waited until you had the perfect name and all these sort of things, now that doesn't mean don't think about those things. Like, they're things to consider, but it's like, it's never too late to make these changes into the iterations, like you said. And to your point, now look where you are now with that name. Had you, never gone through with the name that got you in trouble, or quote unquote in trouble, you wouldn't be where you are till now.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm a big, big, big fan of, it's not what happens to me, it's what happens for me. And oftentimes, and I've found this from, I've probably interviewed, I think, well over 100 billionaires now through Foundr, that oftentimes that extreme adversity or what you see at the time as being so tough, so difficult, such a big, big roadblock or speed hump in your business journey or your entrepreneurial career or your journey as a founder or CEO, it often works out if you keep pushing through. Like, that's from my experience and interviewing a lot of other super successful people. So that's a great example of me being sued for trademark infringement. It was a blessing in disguise. There's tons of these types of stories, but it's almost like a rite of passage, right? Like, one of my mentors always says to me, Nathan, never waste a good crisis, right? And I think there's something really beautiful about that mindset shift. Because business is tough, if you like Andy Frisella, man, like, he's great. Like, he talks like the real shit, like, there are really, really, really tough times in business,
Well, I think more people need to talk about that as well. Like, I know, like, I am now a founder at the moment with what I'm working on as well. And I'm like, there's plenty of times where you're like, especially because the concept of imposter syndrome and all those sort of things, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, it is a bit of a guessing game at first. You're trying to surround yourself with the right people and you're just doing, and then, oh, that didn't work, so try again. It's like, and so it is hard. Like, and I think more people should be talking about the struggle, and that it's, social media will have you believe that, oh, just start a business. That's the way to set up your life forever. Freedom, perfect. I'm like, not quite that easy. Like, it's a little bit more to it than that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, building, our headline actually on the Foundr homepage for a long time was, building a business is hard, or building a business is tough. Let us help you on that journey.
Yeah.
Right? Because it is tough, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's worth it. And that's the message that I would leave with people, is it's worth it, and it's an incredible journey. And it's, entrepreneurship, and I know you're interested in personal development, personal growth as well. Entrepreneurship and personal development, personal growth actually go hand in hand.
100%.
Because what you'll find is the speed in which your business grows is a true reflection on your own personal growth. And oftentimes, or majority, no, if not all of the time, what stops or stunts or holds a business back from growing, it's the constraints of the founder. So if you take that mindset, right, like, then the question needs to be, how can you speed up your rate of learning? And how can you just be open to learning and to feedback and to really taking that time if something is not working? It's not what, it's who. Who has done that thing? And that's what Foundr's all about, man.
And I guess from day one, that's looking in the mirror before you look in the mirror. Looking in the mirror before you look through the window as well. It's like, don't play the blame game. I'm at the forefront of this. Let's look internally first and then start to go from there before I start to be like, it was this, it was that, it was whatever as well.
Yeah, man. I'm a big fan of ownership. Ownership, like Jocko Willink talks about, what does he call it? I can't sound silly. What is it? 100%? No. What's Jocko Willnick's book around ownership?
Extreme Ownership is the name of the book.
Yeah. Let's recut that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Like, everything that happens, you got to own it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess even if it's not your problem, it's now what you do in that situation anyway. Like, it's someone hit your car. It's like, you don't go, like, blaming them is not going to fix your car still. It's like, well, now I have to take my car to get it repaired. They're not going to take it there for me. And I guess that is an example of the same in business. Someone could fuck it up for you, but you're still the one that has to fix it at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, you've talked a lot about, you were working still full-time when you started this thing. When does that start to become a stage where you go, I'm ready to go all in? It's easy for people to be like, quit your day job because it requires X, Y, Z, but maybe that's a really risky thing to do. When did you decide? Was it a financial point that you went, no, I'm ready to now quit my job and this is my new thing?
Yeah, look, there's no straight line answer, but because I think it comes down to the person's risk tolerance. Certain people have certain tolerances when it comes to risk. Some people would say I'm actually like have a really high risk tolerance, but I think in many ways I'm quite risk adverse, right? And then I have other friends who are extremely risk tolerant and they could not deal. So I can only talk to my experience, and I thought I was quite, in many ways, practical around it. So I looked at it from two ways. One, I think you need at least 3 months of savings. And when I say savings, of your monthly expenses. So as an example, if your rent is $2,000 a month and then your bills are $500 a month and your food and whatnot is another $500, let's just say it's $3,000, then you need to have ideally $9,000 to $10,000 in savings in your personal, right? In your personal, not the business, in your personal. So that gives you like 3 months runway that if you're not, or something happens with the business, you're okay. So that was the first thing. That was the tick for me. How do I have 3 months kind of runway in my personal to cover all of my operating, day-to-day living expenses? The second thing was I had a financial target for the business to make sure that I could pay myself a decent amount of money. Now, when I say a decent amount of money, I think I was paying myself, like, if my operating was, like, my costs were maybe, I don't know, $2,000 a month, or like I was running on like rice and beans diet, like really that kind of stuff. I made sure I could at least pay myself that, and I had subscription revenue, so it was somewhat predictable. So that was the second thing, financial targets. So I had the savings, and then I had a certain amount of money coming in, and it was somewhat predictable. Then the third thing was I sat down with my mentor at the time, funnily enough, a dude from Adelaide as well, Matt Michaelwitz. He's really good friends with Vin.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know him or heard of him.
No, I've not heard of him, no.
Really cool, super, super amazing guy. I haven't spoken to him in a very, very long time. We lost touch, but lovely guy. Interviewed him in the early days. He wanted to meet me in person, shake my hand, and then he became a bit of a mentor and helped guide me from taking Foundr from side hustle to full time. Early days. And long story short, he was like, Nathan, he made me realize and work out that the amount of time that I was spending in my day job, if I actually went full time on Foundr, I could make a lot more than I was making. And he was so right. Because after about 3 months of joining, I got it to, at least 6 figures or multiple 6 figures a month. A year. Sorry.
Yeah.
A year. So long story short, you've got to work that out. Like if your business is making, let's just say, $5,000 a month, and you're making 50% net profit, you're paying yourself 2.5. You can work out what your time is worth to you, and how much you're being paid from the business. Then you can do the mathematical equation. If you worked on it full time in your day job, then what would that equal, right? And what you'll work out pretty quickly is if you can put your 100% effort, energy, focus into it, you'll grow it much faster. So then it makes sense, right? So that was the third thing. And then the fourth thing, which was probably the best thing, which made me feel comfortable, was I became friends with the CEO of the company that I worked at, Intrepid Travel. Incredible company, incredible person, Daryl Wade. And he was on the journey. Like when I had the lawsuit of the magazine, he helped me out and introduced me to one of the other execs there. And he used to be a lawyer, and then he helped me like work out the lawsuit thing. And so when I said to Daryl, I think it's time, because he said, how's it all going? And I said, I think it's time. He said, no, just go do it. Like, go for it. And he said, look, the worst thing that can happen is you can always come back to Intrepid and you got a job here. So he gave me the permission. And, anyone listening to this, you go through those 4 things, that's how you know.
Yeah. Is that a similar sort of process for then when you go, okay, I'm a one-man army. The money's now got to XYZ. Now we're looking at expanding and growing and building a team. Is it a similar sort of process of, how much money we have now in the business bank account to, withstand that? And then I guess there's the risk adversity of the people coming on board into a newer company and things like that as well.
Yeah. So look, now when I talk to experience, I wish I was as smart and strategic as that. But man, if I talk to experience early days, I had no idea what I was doing, man. The first person I hired was this guy that I met in an event because I thought he was cool. And I thought he seemed like he had good hustle. Like, absolutely fucking insane. So that part about leaving your day job, I sound really smart. And I think looking back in retrospect, I had a pretty good approach. And anybody listening to that, those 4 things, you're like, wow, that's fucking amazing. Now I know. And that gives me my bit of a roadmap. But when it comes to hiring, yeah, it should be practical like that. There's a great book called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. I think it's a similar type concept. You work out your buyback rate, and then that's how you work out hiring. And he's got a really, really good approach around that. But yeah, something along those lines would be smart and practical. However, I don't know. I was never that smart or never that practical. And even today, like, I have friends, most of us, like, yeah, we probably should be more strategic around our hiring roadmaps. Yeah.
But I think that's refreshing to hear as well for people that are early days journey. It's like, once again, you're not going to have all the answers straight away. You're going to learn as you go. You're still going to learn as you go this deep into it as well. Like,
so dumb, bro. So dumb. Like, so dumb. Like, had no idea what I was doing, man.
Yeah, well, I really like that. And I've talked to other people as well about the concept of being naive as well, though, and why that's such, I think, a superpower. And, maybe that could catch you in some risky situations, but I think you have to be a bit naive to put yourself in this situation in the first place, to start that business, to think, yeah, I can run a team. I'm a good leader. What are you talking about? It's kind of that example of like a plumber starts making heaps of money and they're a good plumber and they're like, I'm going to start up my own plumbing business and I've got no fucking idea about how to run a plumbing business. It's like, but being not that naive person, throw yourself in the deep end is cool. That's fine. As long as you then develop and learn as well.
Yeah, 100%. And like, yeah, look, that's an interesting transition from founder to CEO. And a lot of true founders don't enjoy it. They don't enjoy it. And they're actually not that good at it.
Do you think people just label themselves as that because it's like, it's my company, therefore that I'm the CEO? That's how it is.
Yeah. A lot of people have I've spoken about this before, like a lot of people have the title CEO, but they're not truly a CEO.
What makes a good CEO for people? Maybe then if they're like, should I be the CEO or should I handball that onto someone else? What are the skill sets of it?
Well, look, I think you have to be the CEO if you founded the company. You're a solo founder. If you are a solo founder, it just happens naturally, right? Like, and not everybody signs up for that. Not everybody knows what they're signing up for. And there's a very, very big difference between a founder CEO and assuming you're the CEO just because you started the company,
Yeah.
and actually being like a solid CEO, somebody that can lead and inspire and hold teams to account and work on strategy, vision, it's a totally different ball game, man. And that's been a transition for many founders that they struggle with,
Yeah.
right? That they struggle with, and I can understand, I can see that. Yeah.
So are the skills that they should be focusing on if they're feeling like they're not quite, this is not quite them at the moment, is more like you mentioned, it's that team, the leadership, knowing where to assign people, how to hold people accountable. It's not necessarily that they have to be a finance person or an operations person. What are the kind of skills that they should be looking at developing?
Look, I think it's a pretty broad question, but I'd just say in general, like leading people, being a solid people leader, and setting the strategy and setting and making sure that strategy is executed in the most simplest form. But to answer your question in a roundabout way, all I would say is around this one, just to round it out, is when you start your business, oftentimes you don't start it to manage people.
Yeah.
Right. And there's certain people that really enjoy people management, but what you'll find is the founder archetype tends to be quite, especially solo founder, tends to be quite creative, tends to be quite visionary, and managing people and running day-to-day operations of a business can not be as fun.
Yeah.
And can be actually quite energy draining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of, so you bootstrapped Foundr. That was all, for anyone that doesn't understand what bootstrapping means, is no investors on board, all your own funding pretty much.
100%.
Why, one, would you, if you had your time again, is that the best way you thinking back in time you would have still liked to have go about that path, or would you like to have thought maybe an investor was a better option? And then what are the things that people should be looking for and choosing whether they bootstrap themselves or try and get investors on board from day one?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting journey for me because now I actually do have an investor in Foundr, but it's like more of a silent investor. I sold a percentage to him. His name's Rory. He owns a minority share, it's been a great journey. But that was like a while ago. Like it was definitely later part in the journey. But in regards to bootstrapping versus raising VC, look, man, I could have raised money throughout that whole journey. Even early days, I could have sold Foundr. Like multiple people want to buy it, all sorts of things. But what I found was I didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Key point coming up here.
I don't think it would have been the wisest thing if in the early days starting out to raise money, only because I think your first business, unless it's because you have to remember, man, I come from a background of IT support. I never worked in any kind of management position I never saw the ins and outs and operations of how a company should run, all these different things. So I was very, very, very green for starting a company. There's people within Foundr that have gone on the journey with me, worked with me for 4 or 5 years, and they've seen the ins and outs. They've seen how things should work. Also they've managed teams and people, and they've executed on projects and strategy. I had none of that. I had to learn it all. And so I think it depends on where you're at in your career, and it depends on, it's a situational stage question and answer. There's no one size fits all. But for me and my journey and experience, I'm glad that I bootstrapped. I shouldn't have taken anyone's money, and I'm glad I didn't. And, I would be open to, raising money in the future. We're not there yet, but in the future for sure. And, I think it depends on the type of business, right? If you're building a software company, makes sense to raise money because that's kind of the play, right? That tends to be the play. It is historically harder to bootstrap a software business. Now it can be done, and there's plenty of people that do it, and it is not raising VC for a software company isn't the only pathway. But it just depends. But when it comes to kind of experiences of raising money, I can't really talk to it, man. I've never done that journey. I've got many friends that have, and I've invested in companies and all sorts of things as an angel. But yeah, I'm probably not the best qualified person to kind of say, should you raise money or should you not? All I can say is this: I didn't. I'm glad I didn't. And I think a common myth people have is that to start a business, you need to secure funding to go out there and get money. That is a massive, massive, massive fallacy.
Yeah.
If you want to start a business, you need to get proof of concept, and you need to have some sort of MVP, minimum viable product. So Eric Ries talks about this in The Lean Startup. Fantastic book, staple reading for anyone looking to start a business.
Only had a mate send me that today to say, you got to read this book. And I was like, there you go. Must have to read it.
Fantastic book. And really, it's all about proof of concept, and it's all about getting product market fit. Once you have product market fit, then you should maybe consider raising money, but you don't have to, right? And if you don't have to and you can grow sustainably, then why would you? And in this market right now, it's pretty hard to raise money. The market has definitely shifted to favor businesses that are profitable, and businesses that are losing money and burning cash do not get very far in this market, unfortunately. So
VCs are more like waiting to see a company that's already doing something, and once that's already happening a little bit, then they're a little bit more bullish on that.
Depends. There's certain VCs that are focusing on seed because they can get in early, they can get a decent chunk of their business, and there's certain VCs that are post revenue, right? And there's certain VCs that are all about scale up. Right, like it just depends. It depends on their thesis, right, and the kind of companies that they look to invest in, the skills and expertise they bring to the table. But yeah, look, there's no one size fits all from my experience. But if you don't have to raise money, you shouldn't. Yeah. That's my recommendation. And if it's your first business, like probably most people listening to this, watching this, viewing this, or thinking about it, you probably shouldn't, and you probably should hone your craft on building a business that doesn't require you to. Yeah. Software businesses are hard, very, very hard. But
is that from a product point of view or a marketing point of view that seems to be a bit more difficult with those?
Software businesses, both, but like developers, like development, I know AI and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so many people say building software business is so hard, man. That's why you get such a good valuation, because they're so hard. But if you get it right, it's pretty incredible.
You're off to the races at that stage.
100%. But it's not easy to get right. It's very, very difficult. There's people that have done it many, many times and failed many, many times. And I think, if you want to start a software business, you need a technical co-founder too. Yeah. Right. So you need a co-founder.
It's kind of that Steve Jobs and Woz, isn't it? Like it's
you need a hacker and a hustler.
No one really knows who Woz is, but plenty of people do. But there's plenty. Like if you hear Apple, you think Steve Jobs. You don't think Apple. You don't think Woz.
Correct.
But he was there, for majority.
Correct. So you need a hacker and a hustler. Woz was the hacker. Steve Jobs was the hustler. He was the sales and marketing guy. So you need a sales and marketing person, and you need a product. You need a sales and marketing person, and you need a product and product dev tech type person. That's probably the best combo. And ideally they say the magic number is 3. That's kind of what Y Combinator looks for. You have to have 3 co-founders, and you have one that's operational, one that's sales and marketing, and then one that's technical. Yeah.
And I guess from a decision point of view as well, you're never going to be stuck with a 50-50 decision. There's going to be 2v1 or 3 and 0. Like it's, you have some decision making makes it maybe a little bit easier.
Yeah, look, that's one of the number one reasons that those kind of businesses fail actually is either not finding product market fit, lack of funding, or more than often than not, co-founder disputes and falling out. Yeah, that's so I interviewed a long time ago one of the co-founders of Y Combinator, Jessica Livingston, and she said that's one of the number one things. Okay. Yeah, co-founders disputing. But yeah, it's interesting. There's many different pockets of worlds in this kind of online business startup ecosystem. The startup ecosystem is more tech focused, right? And it's more Silicon Valley, San Fran focused, tech bros type of focus. And it's, It's technical co-founders, it's co-founders, it's, product hunt, it's, the My First Million they're kind of intertwined, but yeah, it's a different world compared to the online business world where it's, start a physical product, start a service-based business, start an agency, create a membership product, create a course, become a creator, there's a few different worlds, and that's they're both intertwined, but more so VC, all that kind of stuff is that kind of Silicon Valley, San Fran type world.
Is the goal of now, with social media, people want to play golf 3 times a week and run a massive company? How realistic is that? Is that something that, on seeing from what your experience of how, your time allocation has changed over the time of Foundr and growing, how realistic is a journey where someone's like that time freedom is a massive part of their goal and why they got into business?
Depends. It depends on how you structure it, right? It depends on how big your business is. It depends whether you optimize it for that, right? The cool thing with a business is if you give it enough time, energy, and focus, you can structure it however you want. So yes, it is definitely possible to run a big business and play golf 3 times a week, but you're probably not the CEO, right? You're probably, you definitely have moved yourself out of the day-to-day operations, and you've probably elevated up and you're running the business from probably a chairperson, you're the chairman kind of operation, chairman type scenario of running the company.
Mm-hmm.
And that is definitely possible. Hard work though, man. Hard work, very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult to find really, really great leaders and get really, really great people that are motivated to grow your company. Dan Martell, in his book, he talks about people doing things about to 80%. That's what you got to aim for. But yeah, for sure it's possible, but definitely takes time. I'm certainly not there yet. Maybe one day we'll get there if I want to.
Yeah.
Right? If I want to. I definitely want to optimize for family eventually. But it is possible, but pretty far away for most people. But however, then you could be the $1 million consultant or the one person $1 million business. There's a massive movement there, dude. If I finished doing Foundr tomorrow, sold it, whatever, and started a business, for sure, dude, I could optimize full lifestyle, set up something I'm sure that could make multiple 6 figures with a couple of contractors, work when I please. I have that skills. I've got those hard-earned skills. I reckon, honestly, and I'm not saying this to be arrogant, but I do believe I could build $1 million business that is a one-person business with a couple of contractors. I truly do believe that with my skills and experience, and optimize purely for lifestyle and work 2 days a week. I truly believe I can do that, but it's damn tough, man, right? And it takes a long, long time to work out and acquire the skills to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, I guess you made a very good point there. Is it depends on how big of a company do you want and how much money do you want to make and how many people do you want to impact? You want to make, turn over $1 million a year. That's very different to wanting to build one of the, the biggest businesses in the industry. Correct. And that's going to take a very different time requirement. So you want to play golf 3 times a week, maybe, if you want to in a shorter time frame, probably lower that goal, I guess, of how big the company is going to be.
Yeah, and look, it depends, like I said, what you optimize for. Early on, someone asked me, is Foundr a lifestyle business or an asset-based business? If it's a lifestyle business, then I optimize for lifestyle.
Yeah.
If it's an asset-based business, then I'm optimizing to build a bigger asset and a more valuable asset that, perhaps one day it could be a liquidity event. But so it just really depends.
Yeah, yeah. So what does your week look like today, and how has that kind of developed through the growth of Foundr in terms of time commitment?
Oh man, I work pretty hard. I have gone through phases where I'm pretty hands-on, and I've dabbled in trying to take a step back and hire, and I've been through the whole gauntlet, man. But at the moment I'm pretty hands-on, and I've got a great leadership team, but I'm still quite hands-on. We're going through like a pretty significant shift as a business where we're moving everything to subscription, which is really exciting with Foundr Plus. And there's a transitionary period which I'm leading, which is really exciting. I'm really enjoying. But yeah, I'm pretty hands-on. Like I'm going to get it to a point, I'd say in the next year or so, where I'll take a little bit of a step back and really just focus on my personal brand and get out of the day-to-day operations. Not quite there yet, but I'm getting close. And I'm pretty excited about that, to be able to really, really focus on my personal brand and really kind of elevate up. But yeah, my day-to-day, a lot of interviews, a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of operational type stuff, a lot of strategic stuff, and a lot of networking.
Yeah,
networking. That's the job of CEO. You got to network. You got to find out what's working. You got to speak to people. You got to do deals. You got to do partnerships. All sorts of things. But yeah, right now I'm wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah. So what is your take on work-life balance then with that? So, early days you were talking about how you're all in. Every day you're working lots, obviously that's in and around a 9 to 5 already. So clearly you're working more than a normal day.
Yeah, dude, I was doing
how has
70, 80 hours a week.
Yeah,
yeah,
wow.
Early days Foundr for sure. And then as the business grew, I don't know, maybe 50, 60. I kind of think of it like this. I can tell you that ever since I started Foundr, I've never missed a social event that I didn't want to go to. I have never missed, I've never gone, hey, I can't go to family dinner every Sunday because that's just like, I love my family and family's really important to me. I've missed a couple of holidays where like I've cancelled them because things are too hectic with work, but for the most part, I've traveled around the world. I don't even know how many overseas trips I've done in the past 10 years, lost count, but a lot. So I kind of have prescribed to work hard, play hard. So I've never missed anything, and I have never really sacrificed that kind of thing. But what I could tell you is for a long time, it was if I wasn't with my girlfriend, if I wasn't seeing my family, wasn't seeing friends or at a social event, I would be working, right? Like obviously the health and fitness, all that kind of stuff, but I would be working. So any spare time I had, I'd be working, and then obviously be working during the day. So that stopped after COVID though. So COVID was a crazy time for us, and the business experienced significant growth, and I experienced burnout. And early 2021, I was waking up in the middle of the night with my heart beating really fast, and I didn't know why. And it took me a while to work out, but I was, actually severely burnt out. I didn't want to go to work. Like, you talk about that passion.
Yeah, wow.
I didn't want to go to work. And I was doing a lot. I was doing everything. It was insane. Like I didn't have a stop button. It was just go. And yeah, that really caused me to reflect, man, that you can have all the money, all the success, all the accolades, business that impacts a lot of people, all these things, right, that we all desire. We all have this innate desire, whether you're trying to get it or not. But if you don't have your mental health, it's worthless, dude. Yeah. It truly is worthless.
And people to enjoy it with as well. Like it's 100%. What's the point of if you've brushed all your family and your good friends away? Not some friends will go because maybe they're not good for you either.
Yeah.
But like your best mates and things like this that have been there for everything, and you start to like push them to the side. What's the point? Like they're the ones that you're supposed to be celebrating with, and now you're sitting home alone, drinking a wine, celebrating by yourself.
Yeah. That's
not the point of it.
Yeah, 100%. So, like I said, it's truly worthless. So effectively, man, I changed things up a lot. And then ever since then, I really try and maintain as much balance as I can in a healthy way. But, when you got to work hard, you got to work hard. When you got to bust it out, you got to bust it out, right? Like, man, there's no shortcuts to this stuff. I know everyone's looking for the shortcuts. I'm telling you, the biggest shortcut is learning from people that have already done it.
Yeah.
That's the biggest shortcut in life, right? You want to get jacked? You learn from somebody that's done it.
Yeah.
You want to build a successful e-commerce business? You learn from someone that's done it. Or you learn from moles. You know what I mean? Like it's, you want to be an incredible piano player. You learn from someone that's already done it. Like it's really, really the biggest hack there is out there, I believe. Like, because like there's someone out there, like the problem that you have right now, there is someone out there that has solved it, and you have to go and find them. Because if you do, they're going to help you like learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what it's all about. And that's what we're all about at Foundr. Right. Like Foundr Plus, like we go out and find people that have built super successful businesses on like that micro thing, like SMS marketing. Who's the master of SMS marketing? We get to just lay out all the blueprints, give you all the templates.
Yeah.
Right? That's what's out.
Yeah. So then early days when you're trying to reach out to these people, I mean, for, you've worked and had either podcasts with or courses with the likes of, Richard Branson, Mark Cuban, Greta, Riel, Tim Ferriss, all these sort of people. How are you approaching when, now, obviously, it doesn't mean it's easy, but it's easier because you go, hey, look at this great platform we've had all these people on. How are you going about getting in touch with these people, whether it's from a networking effect because you want that mentor or whether it's because you want them involved in your business in some way?
Yeah, so I think it starts with how can you serve first and ask later, and how can you have a mutually beneficial exchange in value? So I'll go back to the Richard Branson story. That was a great one. First 4 months, I got sued for trademark infringement. I pitched to interview Richard Branson with Key to Success magazine, and as we were putting it together, and he eventually agreed, it ended up becoming Foundr, and that was issue number 8. And so that was the first super successful magazine like feature that we got. And instead of charging for it, I made it free. The reason I made it free was because I wanted to use that to build the brand. And then, we just kind of raised the bar of the caliber of founders that we interview and feature, and then just built from there. But the question is, how did I do it, right? It's really about finding the gatekeeper, number one. So I never forget, I was seeking out, I found the head of PR for Richard Branson at Virgin, and, I called her up on the phone. Who calls people up on the phone nowadays, right? So I cut through, called her up, and I pitched multiple times, and, I sent her an email, then I called her, and then, I had 30 seconds, and my pitch was stumbling all over the place. He's like, Nathan, I get like 10, 20 of these requests a day. Shoot me an email. I shot another email. And he said yes. And then we took it from there. We kind of ran with that. And, I played on the fact that his first business venture was a magazine. And then, I just kind of went from there. But then even, after you get an interview with Richard Branson, then you go off and you try and interview other people. Still haven't interviewed Elon Musk. Would love to. Still haven't interviewed Warren Buffett or Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos. But we don't even really try, right? Like honestly, we probably should. I don't know why, but yeah. And long story short, that's kind of the play, right? Find the gatekeeper, stand out from the gatekeeper, and find out what's the mutually beneficial exchange in value. So if you're looking to interview high-profile guests on your show, a great tip is Amazon coming soon list. So
get them on launch sort of thing.
Yeah. So Amazon coming soon list. Basically, you can go there. The publishers pre-submit, and so you can see all the books that are coming out in the next, 3, 6, 12 months.
Yeah.
And then you just go out and pitch, right? You go out and pitch those PR people, because the PR people, you make them look good. So you're looking for the PR gatekeeper or the actual assistant of that thought leader. And and then obviously they want press. They want more people to, buy their book, read their book. They want to become a New York Times bestseller. You've got a platform.
Yep.
Mutually beneficial exchange in value. So that's kind of how you do it. Like, there's other ways you build networks with relationships with PR firms. There's certain PR firms that we work with all the time now at Foundr. I remember, the same PR firm, they don't exist anymore. it was actually Ryan Holiday. He used to have his own little
Oh,
book
yeah.
marketing agency, and I became friends with him. He got me an interview with Tim Ferriss, got me an interview with Tony Robbins. I think Arianna Huffington. No, I pitched Arianna Huffington direct. Like, yeah, just like you build relationships, man.
Yeah, and I think the powerful part to take away from that as well is you got to be in the ring. Like it's even if you're like, I doubt Richard Branson will say yes. Ask, try. You never know. Like
Yeah.
you'll be absolutely shocked by how many people I've even noticed is just 20 episodes into a podcast. The fact that we're sitting here right now, like it's someone like yourself, I could have easily been like, nah, they probably won't say yes. But you ask, and then you find yourself in a situation, and it's like, so if you've got this feeling in your stomach that's turning, you're like, they'll probably reject me. I'm like, cool, that's another rep. If they say yes, well done. If they say no, well, practice, go to the next one.
Yeah, I agree. So I remember like Barbara Corcoran, who's a shark off Shark Tank US. It took me like 2 or 3 years,
Yeah,
like to interview her, and I just kept coming back.
just like planting the seed.
Kept coming back. Hey, here's the new front cover edition with someone else super famous. We'd love to interview and to tell us about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and it's really crazy. Some of the people like Mark Cuban. Oh, I think one of his guys reached out to me because they wanted us to help promote something, and I said, yeah, but we got to do an interview, and then like we did a deal, or like Gary V, like all these different I built up the Foundr Instagram, and they wanted to work with us, and they wanted Gary to be on the front cover, and we did a deal there, worked out something there. Like, yeah, it's crazy, kind of the mediums and how it kind of works.
Yeah. Now pulling back to the business in itself, product marketing. There's going to be people on the product team that say we're the most important thing. There's going to be people in marketing that like to say they're the most important thing. Where do you put that focus early days? Is it a 50-50 split, or is it kind of that understanding that like good marketing gets people in the door and a good product keeps them there? So like, well, what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, it depends what kind of product. It depends on what kind of product or service, right? It really does, right? Like, as an example, you could create a physical product, which I like physical products. You create a physical product, make it awesome, solve the problem, create it, and then you're good for a decent amount of time. You've got to still do product innovation, but then you've got to focus on marketing, right? It depends. Like, there's not a one size fits all. But I would say, and I've said this before, is when you're starting your business, you need to spend 80% of your time on product and marketing.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it's a tricky one. I don't know the answer, man.
So maybe just bundle them together a little bit more rather than trying to see them as opposites, see them as a
I don't know.
together.
I don't know. I don't have the answer. All I can tell you is this: that if you have a really, really, really good product, you can do an average job of marketing.
Yeah.
But if you have a really, really average product, you have to do a really, really good job of marketing. So personally, I'd rather have a really, really, really good product and then have to be rubbish at marketing or average at marketing, average at marketing, and the product will pull people and it will stick people. So yeah, I come from a school of marketing though. So it's only been, I'd say, the past, like I've always had passion, and anything I've put out with Foundr, it's always been quality. But yeah, I've really changed my tune, I'd say, the past 2 to 3 years and got more obsessed with product more than ever. So yeah, it's a hard one, man. Unfortunately, there's no one size fits all on that one. I can only share my experiences.
Yeah. I guess, and that's a common theme. Like I've talked to quite a few successful business people like yourself, and it's the famous, it depends. Like it's not sexy advice. It's not sexy social media advice, but it is the truth. Like it's within the nuts and bolts of the business and the situation you're in. It depends. Like it's, on what where the priority lies a lot of the time as well.
Yeah. But I think I answered it. Like, I think it's easier to market a product if you have a really good product versus having a average product and you got to have really good marketing, because really good marketing, like, you got to shout hard.
I guess it becomes a bit manipulative then as well. Like some people might perceive it as it's like if your marketing is really, really good and the product's not great, you're like, well, that was kind of a little bit of a miss, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, yes, agree,
Mm.
but it's one of those things, right? Like, if you've got a product that still solves the problem, like that's what you're aiming for,
Mm.
right? So if you've got a product that solves a problem, then is it a good product or not? That's where I'm kind of like, I don't know how manipulative the market. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So it's hard. It's hard. That's a hard one to answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the concept, a lot of people tell in marketing, sell feelings, not features. What does that actually mean, like practically?
Dude, I've heard that. I'm probably not the best person to answer it, to be honest. I could tell you what I think, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, look, it's funny. I think I'm a good marketer, and over time, I've realized my areas of development as a marketer. Um, I'm really good at brand building and design. I'm probably need a bit. I'm not that good at copy.
Yeah.
And I'm not that good at sales persuasion. But what it means effectively is this idea that um, you want to trigger an emotion in that person, right? People are not interested in features. They want to know how you're going to solve their
Yeah.
problem, right? Features are just shiny things, but at the end of the day, they don't really matter. What really matters is solving the person's problem. What really matters is how can you speak to their desires, their hopes, their wants, their dreams, their goals. Like how can you really light them up? Because yeah, people buy on emotion,
Yeah.
right? Oftentimes people don't use logic when they purchase. And so if you can play and you can tap into somebody's emotions and feelings, then you can capture them and you can win hearts and minds. And when you can win hearts and minds with your marketing, then yeah, it's easy to sell. So
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
that means.
Yeah. So then, like you've touched on a lot there, is like maybe a big focus that people should be early days. Like if you have a brand and let's call it Road, Road's on day one. They've never started before, and you don't really, no one knows what that means. It's about creating what that means through branding. And then, that's that feeling when someone has a Road mic or when they have an Apple product, that gives them a sense of feeling because they know what Apple means and how that's made them feel because of the continuous growth around that brand over the years as well.
Yep, 100%. You nailed it. And yeah, I would just say that I'm just thinking, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, look, I would just say that, yeah, look, I would just say if you're in the early days of wanting to create a brand, wanting to sell with, feelings, not features, then it's so key to speak to your customer.
Yeah.
To speak to, even if the person hasn't bought, really understand your target market. Like one of my buddies, Sabri Subi, who runs King Kong Shark Off Shark Tank Australia, he's pretty big on customer research and he's an incredible copywriter, right? These guys aren't stupid, right? There's a reason that he goes so deep on customer research. Because if you can speak to that person in around the conversations that they're having in their head already, then that's how you can win hearts and minds.
Yeah. So you step into their shoes, really, in that sense, aren't you?
Well, you understand
Become
them.
the customer.
You understand them.
Yeah.
And the more you can understand somebody, the more you can speak to them. And the more you can speak to them, your marketing cuts through.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of rubbish out there too. Because people are lazy, man.
So that's the sort of thing. I wonder whether it can seem very hard in the modern world. There's every man and their dog is starting an e-commerce business or selling something on social media or creating content. It's like, is it just because there's lots, does that mean it's really hard? Or does it mean that you just have to do that little 1% more and you'll just stand out like massively from those people on there as well?
Yeah, look, differentiation is key. Like, just go back to the problem. Like, you got to solve a problem that you're passionate about, that you really care about, and you got to solve that problem, right? So, tick, you're doing that. Then, how are you differentiating like your product? How, you don't want to create a Me Too product. That's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I know Uber and Lyft is a great story, right? But that's a Me Too. Like, you're not going to do that, right? I think if you're going to copy, where can you get the inspiration and how can you slightly tweak it so you can differentiate your product?
Yep.
And then you got to really understand who it is you're serving, how you speak to them, how do you make it cool, and just go for it.
Yeah. I wanted to finish on here. Recently, I saw pop up on your social media. It may not have been a recent concept of yours. Is that don't use social media to impress people. Use it to impact people. Do you think people are using social media massively, or they're underutilizing it for their business a lot?
Oh yeah, man. Social's tough, right? It's really tough. There's a lot of tactics, right? So much tactics. You know, we're one of many contributors to, you know, the latest tactic because that's what people like. But at the end of the day, like social media is one of the most powerful tools to drive brand awareness, conversion, sales, etc., etc. If you have an online business, right? And you can't really get by as a business in the B2C, B2C, keyword B2C. You can't really get by without having some form of social presence. No. It's like your business's resume. Oftentimes now, if somebody's researching your company, the first place they'll go is they'll look for your Instagram, they'll look for your TikTok. They'll look, maybe not Facebook. No. They might, but it's you know, Google research is a massive thing, man. People are more skeptical than ever. So, you know, people see an ad of yours, or people see you or your content or somewhere, like how are they seeing you? Like through social, right? And they're going to research, right? They're going to look into what you're putting out. They're going to look into what the reviews say. Like all of this stuff matters. Yeah. So you got to get it right? And a lot of people aren't.
Yeah.
Once again, like that's why Foundr exists, man.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I mean, we might wrap things up there, let you get off this evening. It's been a really good chat. Really appreciate your time, Nathan. So if anyone's a young founder and obviously needing some guidance along the way, then Foundr Plus is the place to be. Yeah, legend. Yeah, you can just go to foundrplus.com/trial. I think we do a $1 trial for 7 days. Perfect. You can check it out. Excellent. Link will be in the description as well, just in case you spell it wrong. Legend. Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Jordan. Excellent. Absolute pleasure, dude. Thanks, Nathan. Cheers.